This question asks us to find values of sine and cosine of some common radian angles. So the first thing I might do is try to convert these radian measures of angles into degrees. When it comes to degrees, we have 0 on the right of the unit circle, 90 represents 1/4 of the circle, 180 is half a circle, 270 is 3/4 of the circle, and the entire circle makes up 360 degrees. When it comes to radians, going all the way around the circle represents a radian angle of 2 pi. So that means that 180 corresponds to just 1 pi, 90 corresponds to pi over 2, and 270 corresponds to 3 pi over 2 as a radian angle. The angle we're given here is 2 pi over 3. We can always convert this by multiplying by the conversion factor of there being 360 degrees corresponding to 2 pi radians. 360 degrees and 2 pi represent the same angle, so multiplying by this factor doesn't really change the value of the angle, it's just going to change the units of it. So if we do this on calculator, we'll see that this is going to be an angle of 120 degrees. So they're asking us to find the sine of 120 degrees. A vector in standard position that points at an angle of 120 degrees would look approximately like that. It's a little bit more than 90, but it's not quite 180 either. We assume that we're working with a unit circle where the radius of the unit circle is 1, and the sine of that angle would be the height off the x-axis of the head of the vector. So the cosine of 120 represents how far to the left the head of the arrow is, and the sine of 120 represents how high the arrowhead is off the x-axis. If we go to calculator, we can get these answers. So if your calculator is in degree mode, you can type in sine of 120. But if you're in radian mode, you can type in the sine of 2 pi over 3. To switch modes, just hit the mode button. I'll change to radians here. And now we'll want the sine of 2 pi over 3. We get the same answer here. Now this result is a irrational number, and if we want the decimal, then that answer is fine. We can write the approximation as 0.866, and we can do the same thing for the cosine. Cosine is negative 0.5. However, if we want the exact value, there are certain triangles that are well known in trig, so this triangle happens to be one of the well-known ones. The radius of the unit circle is 1, and so if you memorize this triangle, it would have a hypotenuse of 1, and the short leg is 1/2, and the longer leg is actually radical 3 over 2. Some people also memorize these ratios as being 1, 2, and radical 3. where the angle here is 60 degrees. This is a 90-degree angle, and this little angle is a 30-degree. So if we were to use the idea that sine of theta is defined as the opposite leg over the hypotenuse, we could say that the sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. Okay, so that answers the first two questions. Now let's answer this question. This one asks us for the cosecant of negative 2 pi over 3. So when it comes to cofunctions, there's three important ones. There is the secant, which is defined as 1 over the cosine of the angle. Cosecant theta is defined as 1 over sine of theta. And there's also a cotangent of theta, which is 1 over tan theta. So the cosecant of negative 2 pi over 3 could be rewritten as 1 over the sine of negative 2 pi over 3. And when we have a negative angle, negative angles are measured clockwise rather than counterclockwise. So this is a picture of negative 120 degrees. We'd like to find the sine of negative 2 pi over 3. So that's going to be the signed distance of the arrowhead of the negative 120 from the x-axis. By symmetry, we can see that the value is going to be 0.866, but because it's down rather than up, we would call it negative. So sine of negative 120 degrees is going to be negative 0.866. And as we saw above, this is negative radical 3 over 2. Okay, we can use the idea that when we have 1 over a fraction, we can actually just flip the fraction. And this will simplify it to negative 2 over radical 3. The decimal approximation could be found rather easily just by typing in 1 over a sine of negative 2 pi over 3. So negative 1.15 is the value that we're looking for. We could see if that's equivalent to negative 2 over radical 3. It is.